Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Ryan.
How are you doing on this fine day?
You know, I feel like I'm in a weird place. Like, just on the precipice of things changing all over again.
Do you feel good about it, at least? Are you keen? Are you excited? Or are you fearful of... are you angry about it? Are you going to stand up against it or stand with it?
I'm a bit like Amos was last episode of, like, I know that I feel things, but I don't really know what I'm feeling.
I am feeling vindicated. I am feeling smart and big brain. I got a lot of predictions right, but the main one that I'm very happy with was my observation about Miller wearing the hat being the sign that it's not Miller, and that the investigator persona thing is this jailer weird program from the proto-molecule. It's his keeper, his boss, this flesh suit thing. And I feel very good about that because back in season 3, I smelt something was off and I called it. I'm like, I don't trust this little freak. He wears the hat because the show thinks the hat's cool, but also the proto-molecule canonically thinks it's cool. Canonically, the alien device thinks the hat was really cool. Does that mean we in reality are correct that it isn't cool? Because if the evil, ominous, deadly, invasive, cruel alien system thinks the hat's neat, does that mean it's not?
Yeah, I think it does. We've got to set up what the show is first, Ryan.
I will set us up. I will tell everyone about the good word of yum yum. It was a line of dialogue from Star Trek Discovery that we found particularly outrageous, and so we named our podcast after it. It came out of nowhere. A character was asked to kill another one, and this person licked their lips, sexily, breathily, and hornily said, "Yum yum," and we have never forgotten about it. And we wanted to give our thoughts in some deeper fashion than just our daily conversations about Star Trek Discovery, and so we formed this podcast, and now we talk about many different TV shows. It's not just Discovery. We've done Space Above and Beyond, Babylon 5, and now we are watching, for the first time, new perspective, new eyes, fresh to this series known as The Expanse.
Yep. And we're up to episode 9 of season 4.
Season 4, episode 9. That means it's the penultimate.
Saeculum.
Which means, from what I looked up last time, it's the average lifespan of a human. Mm-hmm. Something along that line. It's like a duration of time.
Yeah.
Which does make sense with what Miller's all about in this episode, like his weird distortion on how to see everything. But what happened in this episode, Rachel? What's it about?
It's a length of time roughly equal to the potential lifetime of a person.
That's what the episode's about. Thank you.
Or equivalently? Why can't I say that word?
Because it sounds like Lucia. Got her ass, everyone. I got it.
Or like the equivalent of the complete renewal of a human population.
There you are. Makes a lot of sense. So that was what the episode was about. Now, did you find anything particularly horny in this episode that made your blood temperature rise and you get sweaty with the brow?
You don't want me to read the actual description?
Oh, I thought that was it. I asked what happened in the episode, and you read that, so I thought that's what happened in the episode. Play the tape back, and you'll hear how...
I did. I accept that. I don't need that.
What do you need? What do you need?
No, that was me adding to the definition.
Oh, I know. I'm being snarky. I'm being a little snarkster. I'm being Miller in this episode.
Holden and Miller race to save Illis. Mercury puts his endgame into motion, putting the Rossi crew's life at risk.
How many of these burns can the Rossi do?
I don't know, but as long as they're tethered, they're extremely vulnerable. If you're going to use that shuttle and take them out.
Understand.
No Bobby this week, no Christian, no Ashford, no drummer, no Fred. It's only the Illis stuff. And that means we are having to really, really look closely at what made us feel yum yum. Because with the Expanse, what do we do when it comes to yum yum? We
examine it for what made us horny. This is a weird episode because it really gave me a lot of lovely moments with Amos, but none that made me particularly horny.
He was cheeky.
Would you like to tell them why I screamed out, "I love him"?
Well, you said
in
it
this
several
episode?
times, pointed at the screen. It was when he was being a little scamp,
Yeah.
which doesn't narrow it down. What did he do? He went from depressed boy last episode to rambunctious scamp this week. So what was the yum yum
just
moment
really
of Amos
excited.
for you?
He had his blowtorch back, Ryan.
And he was using it.
Yep, he got his mojo back.
I like how even this episode shrugs off the dramatic sting of the slugs.
Yeah.
Remember that was a cliffhanger? Oh no, slugs that will kill us. And then in this episode, it's treated almost like a joke.
They're not even around.
He's just burning them. He's just like as you do, but it's like the episode itself is like
we don't really
slugs. Who
see
cares?
them.
They went back into the.
The water's receded. They've gone away.
I don't know if the water brought them out. I know it brought out the eye infection, but I don't have really anything yum yum in the episode. There's nothing that was sexy. The closest I will give you is also an Amos moment, and it ties into what you were saying, and it was him disarming the man of his weapon who was guarding
the power move.
the doctor, and he just says, "I wouldn't," when the guy was going to go pick it up, and that was it. Nothing actually sexy. It was just a fun scene, and it had a bit of
They got you excited, but not in a sexual way.
And that is our section where we look for anything horny in the Expanse. Dry season. Very dry season, even though factually there's a lot of water in the season. Very dry.
We got a sex scene.
Yeah, one
And we've gotten
was with Amos.
multiple post-glow scenes.
I will take your word for it. At this point, they're a distant memory. They need to finish off the
Amos
season.
fucked.
They need to finish off a season with a naked scene again. Shirtless, naked.
Amos fucked and now she's dead.
Well, it didn't play out like that, but this episode, the penultimate, I didn't have much thought going into this end of last discussion. My predictions were just very mild because it's very logical where things would head towards, and they did head towards the things that I've been saying, you've been saying since
would be disingenuous at this point.
Nothing played out that wasn't earned or off the beaten path. There was no twists to this.
Surprises.
I guess even yeah.
Well, I didn't think about them using the guns to propel the Rossi.
That's true. There were nice details.
That's a nice thing, and some of the extra details that we get about Miller, I was like, ooh.
And
I like that.
even what Mercury was going to use the shuttle for, or who he was using it against, more importantly, because we were thinking he was going to use it to kill the Belters when he was going to take them off the planet, but no, he's going to use it on the Rocinante.
I think he realized that he wasn't going to get them off the planet.
So he was a bit trapped, but I like this episode overall. It didn't blow my socks off, and it was mainly held up by having Thomas Jane feature heavily, giving an eccentric performance.
He nailed it. I loved it. I loved the investigator / Miller in this.
I missed him. I've always liked Thomas Jane as an actor, and I've always liked him in this show. Miller was a bit of a, I don't know, just not my cup of tea in season 1, but since then, he's been fantastic, and I think this episode is more fond in my eyes because we just got extended scenes of him being kooky and freaky and weird, but as an episode on its own merits, it's fine. I keep saying fine a lot with season 4, but nothing major upset me in this episode. It was just little things that niggled away at me, and I just went, I'm not a carer for those, but overall the episode was good.
To the top of the season for us because of that.
Yeah, there were episodes I've liked more, but what did you think of this overall?
It was fine. It was fine. It did the things. It didn't really hold my attention though, because it's just moving the needle a little bit, and it was setting up what's going to happen in the finale, and that made me annoyed. That's entirely on me. On me.
You are a big detractor of obvious setup. And
I don't like waiting. And setup feels like waiting. So it did take us by surprise when Murtry got his security officer on the ship to send the shuttle over to try and destroy the Rossi. Because we were expecting them to try and deal with the Belters in that way. But it does make more sense, especially with the conditions being what they are, to go after the Rossi. And to get that out, and that would also potentially resolve problems with the Barb, because they don't want the Belters to be able to leave with the lithium.
He just knows he needs to kill them, and then things will work out, but he hasn't thought that far ahead. How are they going to be able to survive on this planet? How are they going to turn things off or activate things in a way in which they don't all just die? He doesn't know, because he's not bothered to know about that. He just thinks about this particular strand of the issue in his life. And it just shows how pitiful he is, because he's such a fucking idiot that he would rather spend all the time and resources killing opposition rather than actually thinking ahead to how he would survive. Because even if he kills Holden and kills the Rocinante and destroys them, what do you do from there? What does he do from there? He has nothing available to him, but he's not going to think about it like that. So they're going to send the shuttle over, and we get the guy on the on that ship, the good scientist man who has been stuck there, and he does a good thing. He does a noble thing. He stands up.
Yep, but not in a way that'll, like, in the way that he's smart about it. He doesn't. He uses the text. He's like, oh, I'm in a spot, but I'm going to try and do the best that I can without getting killed for it.
He used the guy's words against him. He said, sit there and type on that and do your fucking job. Don't you come here asking questions about the shuttles, because don't you know who's in charge? It's me with the gun right now, so get back over there. So he goes back over there and starts typing, and he's doing what he thinks is the right thing to do, which is to warn Alex about the shuttle coming in. And you get a lovely little piece of tension and action and suspense and thrills, because Alex shoots the shuttle just in time, but all of this debris fucks up the Rocinante on one side. Things get damaged. Lucia gets shot out into space. She's spinning around.
I was kind of right. She doesn't die, but she gets knocked off the ship.
Naomi has to get her, grab her, secure her, and bring her back. And it was a well orchestrated set piece. The Expanse will always come out with one or two of these a season, one or two moments to remind you that space is a dangerous place.
It can be a dangerous place, but it's our last best hope for peace.
I like when the Expanse focuses in on the busy work.
Yeah.
The technicals, the problem solving.
Grounds things in a very nice way.
When you're reminded that the main characters are not your scientific geniuses of Star Trek, but they're in fact just a bunch of scrappy found family engineer, pilot, they're just a ragtag crew who are just a bunch of grease monkeys who will kick shit until it works. I like that very much in this episode.
Yeah. You love a kick shit approach.
So what is the approach that they have to utilize, Rachel, to get themselves out of this mess that they've been put in?
Well, they are running low on power, so circumstances are what they are. Alex realizes that they can use the railgun because it has separate battery to help propel them forward, but it's not going to be as comfortable as the burns that they were doing.
It gives it a massive amount of force, so it could snap the tether. But
it doesn't.
But what's lost if it does? We are in that situation anyway.
Yeah. He's like, well, either we evacuate them now or we do this and
then evacuate them.
Like, not much. Like, it doesn't.
Nothing's lost.
Nothing's lost, yes.
If we try. We are very much, it makes me think of Elvie on Illis going along with Amos to this, where she's warned it could be a one-way trip. It already is. And that's how it is on the Rocinante, where this could be something that doesn't work. Well, we're already at that stage, so what is lost if we do it? What are your opinions on and how it's played in the episode 2 of the ongoing struggle and underlying debate about letting the barb go, letting the lithium go? Because Lucia's the reason.
Yeah.
The dream is the reason.
I really like her line of when Lucia says, no one else dies for this dream. And it's really satisfying that she's gotten to that point where it's not like she really is showcasing that it's not worth risking her daughter's life. That's the way that I read it. Like, if it was just her life, she probably would. But she's not willing to let her daughter die for it, for sure.
And
she is
Naomi or Alex.
Yeah. So she's just like, no, like, enough's enough.
She isn't doing this to be stubborn anymore. She's reached that breaking point in which she can see the dangers and futility of holding on to dreams no matter what, and she's willing to let it go. Alex wants to keep pushing at it and see if there's always another trick we can pull out, and he does figure it, and it does work for the moment. And I think but
it also means that they don't have that weapon to use against the RCE.
But they have nothing anyway, so might as well deal with that when we get there. And I think this is a nice culmination to a lot of what she's been going through as a minor character in this season. We've seen her have the struggles with her daughter, her struggles with the dream, and her actions or inactions when it comes to events had. And I think this was played nice. The Barb stuff overall, did you like it? Were you a fan of it? Because we were discussing in the last episode that this is stretched out a little bit too much, and it's just not particularly the most gripping thing to watch, let alone discuss.
Yeah, it's like, it's fine. Like, I just don't, like, I don't mind it. But I'm not really invested. It's like, okay, whatever happens, Alex and Naomi feel pretty safe. And I'm like, I don't see whether they get, I'm not attached to the idea of whether they get the lithium or they don't.
I can see the appeal of it more than actually having the appeal of this story. There's a kick out of they have a friend on the other ship who gives them a message of warning, and Alex uses his wits to get them out of danger, and they're using these peculiar ways to do it, and the RCE fail again, and the mother-daughter reconnecting literally through a plot that requires them to connect. It's all very good. I just don't find it that great of a story myself. It's one in which, as you say, it works, it's functional, it's perfectly adequate and fine. And that happens over and over again when you're watching a TV show. There's so many plots where there's nothing objectively wrong with it. This is subjective point of view in which I just don't really gravitate towards this one. Illis is far more interesting to me. The OPA stuff and Bobby's stuff is far more interesting to me when watching, and it also opens up more to talk about. While this talking about it is mainly getting into the beat by beat breakdown semantics of this thing happened, and since this thing happened, this thing will happen. And that's just perfectly adequate. It's fine. It's okay. But and the series, would you agree with this? They like Alex are pulling out all the tricks possible to make this more lively.
Yeah. They're trying. You know who else is trying really hard?
Who?
Miller. Miller's trying really hard and it's fun. It's fun.
What's he trying?
He is trying to... he has some really great lines about like the way that he explains that he's trying to destroy all of the proto-molecule on the planet. And finally somebody tells them about the blue goo on their ship.
You know what he is? He is Harvey from Farscape. He's the neural clone in Holden's brain. Now, when are they going to let him wear wacky outfits, though? When are they going to have exposition scenes of them in bumper cars together? Just like in Farscape, huh? When's the scene where they go to Luna Park and try to say it's like Coney Island? Where's those scenes? See, this is why, The Expanse is pretty good, but it's never going to be great because it doesn't go to that echelon where you have a kinky leather daddy, like in Farscape, live in the main character's brain. In this, you just get freaky old Thomas Jane with no shoes on, except for, we don't know that for a fact. We don't see him shoeless, but we know he's shoeless in his brain. We've been discussing it, and now we have arrived at the moment in which the series says what Miller is all about and what's been happening. And what are your opinions on it overall? What does it give you?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That's what it gives me. It's just, I accept it and I move on. Because it's not a surprise that it is this way. That, like, they gave us enough information that it was a leap that we've already made. Though I'm like, like, that's, like, the new sort of ring. It gives another symbol and bit of imagery because, like, each of the episodes have ended with the ring gate.
Yes. Oh, you're talking about, like, the weird orb in the center?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the other wrinkle, isn't it? We find out what Miller is doing. What has he been doing, though? Where's he been?
He's been switching things up.
For what purpose?
Trying to figure out a way to attack the proto-molecule because he doesn't like being in this zombie state. So he's fighting against the system.
He has been a participant, a prisoner in his eyes as well, of the proto-molecule, and now he's figured out a way to destroy it, for all of it, and it's through the whatever means or weaponry destroyed the builders, they're calling them, the builders of the rings, the builders of the proto-molecule, and there's some of that, whatever it is, on this planet here. This planet is a corpse, but there's a bullet here, and so let's dig that out. I know whereabouts it is, but I can't find it or see it because I'm not physical. I need a physical being to help me with this element. But of course, there's more to it. Why hasn't Miller been able to talk to Holden for all of this time? It's not that he's being cryptic old.
No, it's not because he's like, no, I just don't like you anymore. He does have a reason. It feels weirdly like just cause. Like there's more to it, but it's just like I was busy.
Well, they wouldn't let him.
They wouldn't let him, but like
They're actively trying to stop the proto-molecule's actively trying to stop him.
To stop him from communicating with Holden.
And achieving what he's trying to do.
Of, like Miller. But like Miller has been busy trying to figure out a way to deal with the proto-molecule and the remnant of the builders.
There's a fight. They're fighting one another in this, and something that's not directly in the notes, but I think is something to discuss, because you say that there's not much gained here other than yes, I know, good, now we can move forward with it. I think there is something important to discuss here, which is one thing in particular. Obviously, Miller's autonomy and what he is, sentience. Is he alive? Is he dead? We've already gone around that several times, so I don't think we need to emphasize it. But the proto-molecule, Miller, talks about it and reacts to it, and we see it act in this episode in a way that he describes. It's personified. It's becoming something with an intent and a personality.
Which we've seen the proto-molecule do over and over again.
But I feel like it's heightened because we are seeing it through the perspective, or being told about it through this iteration of Miller, who is very much that type of guy. How do you reckon with that? Do you feel like it's just the proto-molecule is the same old, cold, heartless program that's just trying to do what it's got to do? Or do you feel like there is something to what Miller is describing where there's a punishment aspect to the things he does to try and counteract it, and that there's more than just an intent, but something? Because if Miller's something, what is the proto-molecule?
I don't have an answer. But it is an interesting question, and it's an important question to ask. Of what are they? I haven't bothered to ask myself that question because I'm more interested in the moment of what are they going to do, or what can they do?
We've been discussing the proto-molecule as this tool, as this program, as this system left behind by these ancient alien beings, and it's been acting on that. It's been trying to send signals, and it's been fulfilling the needs that it was programmed to do, that it was set to do. But now it's going these extra steps, or it's adapting, because it's an adaptive thing. That's what it's all about.
That's part of what makes it dangerous, is that it evolves.
I really like that the discussion is brought forth to think about it differently, because Miller looks at them differently. He looks at them as his jailer. He looks at them as an adversary, a rival. He looks at them almost as if they are alive, like the proto-molecule is alive. And you got to wonder, maybe he's right. Maybe he's right at this point. Because we look at him, let's be honest, we look at him, Miller, as alive in some way.
Yes, we see his sentience and a level of humanity in him more than we do with the investigator. The investigator is putting on the facade of those things.
But Miller is just an entity put forth by an alien construct who is manipulating James Holden's memories and brain matter to replicate the needs. Like, that's what you could argue.
Yeah.
Miller says, like, I wouldn't be what I am if it wasn't for me learning and watching and growing from your human experiences, from your ability to never stop wanting to save or feeling empathy or sadness or joy.
I really enjoyed the clip of like, have you ever met a person you didn't want to save?
That you didn't want to save. Yeah. And I love this kind of philosophical musing with The Expanse when it engages these things, but not in such a, I guess, overt fashion.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just my former master's cracking the whip, wondering why I don't jump. Yeah, they're looking for a way back in.
Is there anything I can do?
Yeah, why don't we try killing them off for good? See how that works.
Miller dying or wanting to die, that was a given. You knew that was coming, and there's a tremendous amount of sadness put upon it as Holden realizes that this will be the last adventure that they go on. That Holden will have to actually say goodbye to Miller.
This is the end again. But like, surely there's no coming back from this. So, I enjoy that he takes a moment and he says that out loud and kind of surprises him.
I like with science fiction, you can pull out emotions from people through very peculiar and strange means. Like, there's something very, I don't know, touching and haunting about Holden talking to Miller and acknowledging that he's already been a sacrifice and that he's already done so much for everyone and he's already a hero, but Holden is talking to him in a way through, because of the sci-fi means, because of all of this stuff with Miller not actually being alive, but also he's physically there. Holden talks to him both in the past tense and the present.
Yeah.
Like he is a ghost.
Yeah, but he was Miller, but he is Miller and he did do those things, and
I just felt some twinge of like melancholy in my heart like when Holden was talking to Miller like that, because it's like
invested in these people and I care about their well-being, and it's just like for what Miller needs right now, he needs to die.
They tie it up really nicely with them conversing and going back and forth by going back to the conversation at the start of the season, and one that we touched on in the first season, of rain. That Miller never got to experience rain. What was it like? What was it like to be you, a person who got to grow up on a planet with a sky, with fresh air, with trees, with rain? Do you even know what it tastes like? And Holden didn't really have much of an answer for it. He hasn't thought about it before. It's just not in his wheelhouse. And in season 1, that was really the first time Miller tried to reach out, as he talks about in this episode, reach out to Holden, and Holden didn't know how to reach back. And now, in this episode, Holden
gives him an answer, and it is, like so many true answers, kind of boring. He's like, it tastes like water.
Doesn't taste like anything.
Yeah.
And although he says it in a way where it's demystifying, but also he knows this means something to Miller, I loved Thomas Jane's reaction. Thomas Jane is such a great actor. A lot of his great acting get away from the kookiness that we get from his line deliveries and his physicality. What really works about Thomas Jane is the subtle expressions in his eyes and his face. It's why The Mist, for example, is a really wonderful film to watch because you see so much going on in his face while his character is being very pragmatic. It can be hilarious, it can be sad, but this episode, when he reacted to Holden saying that, there was just like this acceptance, like finally I can die now.
Yeah.
He was a bit surprised too to get the answer.
Yeah, just the closure.
Closure.
That's nice.
It is nice. I'll miss Thomas Jane being in the show, honestly. I'm imagining that he won't be in the series after season 4, but I also thought that we may not see him again after he died last time. I actually said if he came back, I think it would cheapen what happened. And
it didn't.
I'm glad to be
It
wrong.
didn't.
I'm always glad to be wrong. I'm
Yeah.
always glad to have the show throw eggs at me for thinking poorly of it at previous times. Hence, Holden is a character I very much enjoy because I was so against him and now I'm so on board.
Beyond generic protagonist, man.
Now he's a guy that actually thinks about what does the rain taste like.
Murtry, on the other hand, I don't think he's ever considered that. But he has considered what kind of man he is. And he's the type that builds civilization, not follows it. He's the man that builds the post office. Why are you laughing, Ryan?
I loved it. I was fucking cheering at him being like, mask off. I'm a shitty guy, but guess what? Power comes from survival of the fittest. You think that we didn't get here because of war and bloodshed and genocide? Well, guess what?
Build civilizations.
Bloodshed is how we got here, and you're too much of a coward to get us to where we need to go. So I will get us where we need.
You don't belong here now.
I am willing to make things happen, and to do that, I know that we have to commit atrocities, that we have to be the worst versions of ourselves so that we can build something greater. And
I'm what Drummer thinks of when she thinks of colonizing these planets.
Yeah, exactly it. He's not just a colonizer, he's a fascist. He's a fascist bully. He's not a nuanced villain in the slightest.
No.
His nuance is the fact that he's not nuanced. That's the thing about him.
Straight up.
He's so straight up, just a man who does think, I have a gun, I have power, I will make sure that things go the way they need to. Mm-hmm. Conflict makes us stronger.
Yes, but he also understands that he is just a puppet.
But he doesn't want to be.
He doesn't want to be, and he's maybe delusional enough to think that he can wrangle power from the powerful.
Amos, though, points out, without directly pointing it, but he does say that I won't lie to you when he hears that is the ideology of Murtry given to Way, and that means that Amos sees it for what it is, a lie. It is a beautiful lie that you're being told, but it's a simple lie.
Yeah.
And Murtry may believe it himself, he may not. It is inconsequential. He is so bloodthirsty in this episode. It's what I said before. He's not going to think about the long-term costs of what he does. He's only going to think about the short term, the satisfaction now. He's opportunistic.
Holden's fucked him over, so he wants to kill Holden and kill all of the people that Holden cares about that might also get in his way.
Because they not only refuse to accept his order, but they have stopped it. They have impeded his justice, his frontier way, by showing that there are other perspectives and other methods to progress, and that he's the type of, I mean, this is something to really just mull over. He's the type of antagonist that, when presented alternative ways of thinking, he would rather just remove that entirely because he isn't intelligent enough to argue against it. He's not like an Ehrenreich, where Ehrenreich can use like a fucking dictionary's worth of words to argue why that isn't the way, but his way is. This man, he doesn't have the vocabulary or the wit or the diction. All he has is planning. And he doesn't plan that far ahead. He just knows, if I kill the enemy, if I kill the people who oppose me, then I win, and that's it. There's never any pushback if they're gone. And so...
You can't push anything if you're dead.
That's it. And so I win. So you shouldn't be here until I build a post office. Interesting ideology for a character that is two-dimensional. And I don't say that as an insult, because he thinks of himself as a man of very simple terms, and that's it. He is just someone who's a bully and a killer, and he thinks highly of himself, and he thinks that he's so smart and he's so moral, but he's got nothing going on. He has to hunt down Holden. He gets Elvie to tell him and Way where to go to find Holden, and they both go down Way and Mertry to go hunt him, and you get the back and forth as we've had before, which is, Way, your boyfriend, your lover boy,
you're gonna have to kill him. He's a problem. Is that gonna be a problem? No. I'll do it.
Way, I'm coming for your boss. Don't be there when I do.
Your boyfriend has an economical way with words. I'd rather not go into unknown territory with an armed killer at my back.
Amos is also going to go after Holden because he's figured out that Holden's disappeared, and he needs to get him, and he needs to save him and protect him from Mertry and Way. And LV tells him where he is, and they go there together, and we get the whole little comedic set, like the little comedic scene that we had in our discussion of the yum stuff, of him taking the gun away and being a rambunctious scamp. And I've been doing a bunch of talking, Rachel. You got to take the reins here, because this is Amos we're talking about, and you've been a bit skeptical. You've been a bit shy about talking about Amos recently.
Delightful. So, he's going after Holden because Holden needs his help, and we touched on the way that he gives the RCE guide trying to protect LV and follow orders, gives him shit, and it's fantastic. It's just wonderful. And then the way that he's just like, wait,
are you still here? Are you still here? Go away. And the guy just scampers away like a rodent.
Oh yeah, but when he's going through the purple corridor to the Never Never land of the planet, I don't know. Their comms don't work.
Nothing works down there.
They're down in the sub basement, and and he's so just. He's not even disappointed in her delusion.
He's surprised.
He's
surprised at the level of it.
He's like, oh, you, okay, you still believe it, so I'm not going to be able to convince you otherwise. And damn it, you've taken the pill, and it's too late for you. I'm going to have to put you down, basically,
because she doesn't actually understand Amos. She does the whole, we're not so different, you and I. And then she does the, you're not different from Mertry. You're the exact same. That's why you hate each other. And he's like, well, we're very similar, but one, he's a liar.
Yeah, I'm not a liar.
I'm not a liar.
And that's
and I don't get thrills from killing people.
Lovely build from the conversation that he had with Mertry, where he's like, you're a killer. Amos is like, you're a killer. And Mercury's like, aren't you as well? And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like but I know it. I'm not hiding it.
And I'm not. And I don't get pleasure from it either.
I do it because it's practical, not because it's enjoyable, which is a big difference. Like Mercury delights in taking lives.
Way tries to reason with Amos from the same stance of we're not so different. We kill people for money.
We do this work for a particular reason, and we know that that's not Amos's perspective on his work.
It doesn't line up entirely with him. She's projecting herself, and she's trying to woo him with the idea of we can get out of this life. Very much like what Bobby heard in the last episode. We can get out of this if we just do one more morally bankruptable thing. If we just do one more. She doesn't get it. She's trying to lure him in with the promise of fortune, which is not something that he cares about.
No, he doesn't care about money. He doesn't care about wealth. That's not what drives him.
He cares about loyalty and family and staying with your team. That's why he says to her, I will tell you the truth. I'm going after Holden. That's the truth he tells her. I'm going to go after Holden. That's what matters to me.
And if you stand in front of me, I will go through you.
And he does, and she's surprised. She seems shocked that she got shot.
Yeah, I think she really did think that he didn't have it in him.
That their love and their similarities would be enough.
Yeah, like, because she didn't pull the trigger, so he won't.
She did get a shot off at him, and then Mercury got some shots off after. At least I thought it was like a reflexive boom she fired, but when she was going down.
Yeah, and
but she seemed genuinely surprised by it.
It was more Mercury shooting his hand that fucked him up.
Yeah, he got shot. And then he got surprise hit. He got tagged from behind and from the side, and that was the real clincher. But I called it. I said it that he would have to put her down, and it's more interesting on a dramatic level. It's just better than if she got swayed to his ways and that she became a good person who betrayed Mercury. It's it's more interesting. It's better. It's better to have it be this way.
I thought that was what was going to happen.
You pitched it as an idea, and I gave you what I thought, and you were swayed by that.
Yeah,
You're like, okay, now that sounds better.
It got to the point where it's just like, well, no. The other thing is that they're really set on the crew that they have. Our central four.
We won't get new friends permanently. I would love it if Prax came back. That's my dream team. If we had a little scientist freak on board who's just a little guy who's a friendly man, who some of them irrationally don't like because he's just nice, and some of them love because he's nice. But that's the era of season 2 and 3, and we are well beyond it now. Mercury gets to live. I can't believe it.
I knew it.
I said so, cockily that, he's a guy that's going to fucking die because he's that much of a weasel. He's going to be a guy who gets to live. They're going to take him in, and you were right. You had this much more pinned down than I did because it does line up. They often don't kill the bad guys. And if they do, it's something of note. Holden brings up an example of it in this episode. I like the callback. I've heard a man justify things through previous genocides. And what happened to him? My friend shot him in the fucking face. They don't often kill the antagonists in this show. They get apprehended, they get caught, and there's this sad, bitter hope that the system, the civilization, as put in this episode, will put them to justice.
Yeah. Which is almost sort of against the worldview, because in the Expanse, the world is broken.
But Holden still believes in the goodness of the structures in society, yet he also knows it's bullshit. That's why he's our lead. We get to see him live between those two worlds, where he's not like Drummer, where she's completely dispassionate about it and is running away from it or moving from it and going to forge her own path. And he's not like Christian, where she thinks holding the status quo and reinforcing the system will save us.
Yeah. It's different for him. Different for them.
It's interesting. Again, it's something that Mercury gets to live, even though he's the type of villain we, the audience, want to see dead.
Yeah.
They don't give us that satisfaction because, in a way, it would be a cheap hit.
It's more interesting to see him. Like, he's going to have to continue to weasel himself around.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does go to jail and he gets to be the company fall guy, the ultimate irony.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's perfect for RCE.
And it's perfect as a way to wrap up Mercury, in which he thinks he did all of this for something bigger than himself and something
he
grand.
Thought that he was so close to winning the game.
And getting out of the life that he was in and forging his own destiny. And then, bam, he's brought back down and he's jailed away, and he's going to have to be a shitty little guy in jail who's no one special. He's not forging a frontier. He's just sitting there having to face the consequences of his actions, and he's too thick to even understand it. We did a panel a while back now for Star Trek Discovery where we talked about the antagonists of that show, and we had a major complaint that none of them get to live. They all get murdered or killed by the heroes.
They're dead now. Bye-bye. At the Expanse almost is the opposite, where it's just like any of them could come back in a way.
And even if they don't, them living says more to me, not only about the heroes, but what the show or piece of media is trying to do in terms of retribution and revenge and all of these like geared things that you want to see happen to bad guys. And that they rob them from us, the viewer. We don't get the Game of Thrones final season's satisfaction of seeing Littlefinger die like a weasel because it's a cheap shot, it's a cheap hit, and it doesn't really give us any commentary.
No.
Oh, they're dead. Okay. Evil dies tonight, as Halloween Ends would say, but there's something more compelling about the bad guys do get to live, and they actually have to face up to what they've done. Most of them, if not all of them, will never understand it, though.
No.
Mao doesn't understand it. Ehrenreich doesn't understand it. They can take ownership of what they did.
Clarissa did.
And that's it. Clarissa is a great example of one that goes against the grain. She recognized the error of her ways, stood up and did the right thing, and she's still having to face retribution for it, and she resents it, but she understands. That's why she's great. But Mercury, he gets to live to see another day in which he's a fool.
You won't even have the balls to finish me, will you, boy?
You are finished. I'm gonna bring you back to stand trial. And drop you in a cell forever. And call that civilization.
There's something else in this episode that makes sense, even though I feel like it shouldn't, which is that Miller becomes scrap metal.
Did you ever see Toy Story 3?
Yeah.
Do you remember when Mr. Potato Head didn't have his potato head body, but he still had all of his like little bits, and so he stuck it on like a tortilla and he was like flopping around? That's Miller. That's Miller in this, but he's doing it with like little pieces of scrap metal.
Yeah, and then he gets like eaten by the
proto-molecule.
bugs.
Oh, I took it as like the proto-molecule grabbed him up and threw him in the air. And then the little scrap things all shot into the orb.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like to me, that they shot into the orb or around the orb to try and kill it, and it didn't work.
Yeah, like I
took them
as like they were trying to block it.
Hmm.
Like they're trying to seal it over.
Oh, I think here's a great way to describe. I'll call them the shards. I look at the shards as something that's protecting the immune system, and this thing is a virus, and they're shooting through it and they're trying to break it apart, but the technology isn't working in this case.
No, it's a threat beyond.
And Miller, he understands what needs to be done to activate it, and he needs a physical form.
He can't see it still.
No.
He can't see it.
No, Elvie's there, and he's like, who the fuck are you? There was a lot of swearing in this episode.
So much swearing, and almost all of it from Miller, and it was delightful.
Thomas Jane, he's one of those actors who knows how to drop an F-bomb. Some actors, they just can't get that oomph to it, but Thomas Jane, he does it, and you feel the punch of the swear and you just delight in it. But he needs a physical form. He still can't see the orb. He needs to be dragged into it, to go into it, to turn things on. And
towards it.
He's going to turn off the planet. He's going to destroy everything.
Holden's fucked off to try and go help Amos and ends up dealing with Mercury. So Elfie is the one that... Elfie? Is that her name?
Elvie. She does look like an elf. She has pointy little ears, I guess, is what Rachel's saying.
No, I just don't remember characters' names.
It's okay. She's not a very popular one for us, is she?
No.
I was going to say okay. I honestly don't care about her.
She's the doctor. She's Doc.
Sure.
Holden calls her that in this episode, I think. Anyway, scientist, RCE scientist.
LCE scientist. Rachel's just losing the thread. LV, the RCE
she's
scientist.
Helping the creature that we assume is Miller to try and get into the orb. Holden basically says the Eye of Sauron without saying it, right?
Do you think this show's written by nerds?
I think it is. I do.
No, it's written by Giga Chads. That's why Amos is here. That's why this show's filled with nothing but fucking beefcakes and babes, because it's written by fucking football players. They're not nerds. Now, let's get back to the force field orb thing that Scrappy Friend, literally made out of scraps, has to go through.
Scraps is trying to get through, trying to fuck that hole, trying to penetrate that hole.
Oh, that's my yum element, actually.
And he needs some support.
Some lube, yeah. Got Rachel with that one.
No,
he needs some lube.
See, I was thinking of sexual surrogates.
Oh, very much for you. You love surrogates. She's all about surrogates. She's always saying to me, Ryan, surrogates. And I'm just saying, I'm eating my lunch here. Could you do it elsewhere? And then she walks over and she screams, surrogates! I'm sorry, Rachel. You look so annoyed with me saying that.
I don't get it.
I was just playing around. Do you need to get it? Just play. It's just playful. I'm flirting with you. Do you not feel the energy? The yum energy in the air? It's palatable. I can feel it. The listeners, known as Yumlings, they're giving us thumbs up. If you felt it, give us a thumbs up in the comments. Thumbs up. No other reply. Thumbs up.
We end with a reaction shot of Holden.
Yes, Holden.
And we're not sure what has happened to Dr. or Mr. Scrap Heap.
Yeah, Scrap Heap Challenge, the TV show.
My theory was that Holden walked in and saw that it was the investigator, not Miller. And your theory was that
LV got knocked into the orb as well, because she was in front of Miller, and Miller kind of leapt forward into it in an awkward way. I don't know if Holden could see if there was the investigator, because now Miller / the investigator are in a physical form.
Yeah.
That
they've taken a hold of all of these scrap bits.
And they're in there. Like, we actually see the physical form move a bit to indicate a face when
Yes.
Miller's talking. So I don't know, but let's get a rating on this.
What is it for you, Ryan? Yum being bad, yum yum being good.
I give this a yum yum.
Yum yum.
It's not a fantastic episode. It's just a
not
nice
perfect,
episode.
but it's good. So
It-
it's a yum yum from me too. Yum yum.
What is the name of the season finale? I imagine the name of the book that this is an adaptation of. I don't know it. Rachel is going to read it now, and we will make our predictions on how season 4 is going to wrap up.
Cibola burn.
Cibola burn. I don't know what that means. I'm not familiar with that word. I don't know. And I don't know how it's going to end. Now I do actually.
Yeah. Oh, I Googled, because I Googled like Cibola burn pronounce, and the Reddit was like, quick question, how do you say it? And this person is like Cibola, because otherwise it would sound like cebola, which in Portuguese is onion, which sounds stupid to them because their
Guys,
first language.
the
was
next episode
Portuguese.
actually is about onions because they
Onion
have.
burn.
It has layers. It's actually about Bern Gorman eating an onion for an hour. He's actually former Prime Minister of Australia, Tony Abbott. He does look like him. Eating an onion raw, just a raw onion, not a cooked onion. That would be for fucking legends. You only eat raw onions if you're former Prime Ministers of Australia.
Well, he did it when he was active.
Well, yeah,
Prime
okay.
Minister.
If you're active / a former Prime Minister, okay, that's the only time. And I guess Bern Gorman, he has the ability. He is British. I know they can't technically be our leader, but come on, on a way they are.
He would just have to renounce.
Britishness?
Yeah.
I don't know if.
'Cause
Have you seen
that's-
Bern? I don't think he can take that out of
Julia
his genes.
Gillard had to renounce
Britishness?
her.
Was
I
she
can't remember if
British?
she was.
She was just atheist. I know that. She was our first atheist prime minister, which is fucking radical, as well as first female. But Cibola burns, onion burns, I think is going to be about how the planet is going to self-destruct. Everyone has to get off of there, and they have to find a way to do it. I would hope that we get an explanation
Yeah,
of...
she was born in the UK.
There you are. Thank you, Rachel. That's what the episode's about. Julia Gillard was born in the UK. That's Rachel's prediction. And Rachel's still looking at the Wikipedia for Julia Gillard to really absorb what I said. But I'm worried about the finale. That's my main thing.
I'm apprehensive.
Because we have so many plots to wrap up.
I don't know how much is going to roll over.
We have so many. We have to come back to Bobby and the gang.
I think we're going to deal with Ashford, and I think Ashford's going to die.
Really?
Next
Yes,
episode.
he's barely even done anything to look for Marco. I thought it was going to be like he's
I
found
don't know. I just-
he's found the trail for Marco, and that'll
I
be
have
his
a
season
feeling.
5 journey.
I have a feeling. I'm just like, I think that he's going to be back. You predicted that he's going to die, so
I did that. Yeah,
I'm like, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But that's my random.
I mean that's a way to end a season, killing a major character that you've come to love. They haven't done that in a little bit.
No, R.I.P. Shep.
R.I.P. Shed.
Shed. Yes.
No,
I said Shep.
I like the idea that you're talking about Shemp Howard, my favorite stooge. Any other predictions on the finale? Anything you're wanting to see or hoping to see or think you'll see?
I think that they're going to let the barb go, and that is going to help them on the planet, maybe.
Because it has lithium?
Mhm.
Maybe. Christian is going to lose the election. I keep saying that every episode and it's not happened. So
we'll see if that's
her husband
gonna be resolved.
her husband will leave her, of course. Bobby's plot, I think it's going to be that the gang dies and she's left in the lurch. And what else do you want to see from the end of the season? What do you want to be the end of it? I think the end is going to be Illis blows up.
Yeah, I want the planet to explode.
And then, this is something that we didn't discuss, that Holden has to figure out a new problem and Miller's not going to be able to help him with it, which is
Yes.
this stuff from the Builder's nemesis, let's call it, will fuck up all of the Ringgate stuff. And it's like, oh shit, we're using all of these right now. And he's like, well, that's
You'll
for you
have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deal with it.
And he's
I'm
like-
going to be dead. Yay, me.
And even Holden's like, wait, you could tell us what the big lore of the show is right now. And he's like, yeah, but that's for you to find, kid.
No.
And
I've got my own priorities.
And it was a weird moment where Thomas Jane looked into the camera and said, read the books. Read the books if you want to find out the details, kids.
But you have that option. You also have the option to sign up for our Patreon if you want more of our coverage of The Expanse, because we release it over there first.
Nice and early. If you
Mhm.
get over there, you get access to those as well as our group Discord, in which we have a community of people discussing the episodes, giving their thoughts on things we've said, as well as a betting pool on what we will find horny. What will be the horny thing of the final episode of season 4? Will it be that Naomi fucks Holden? I've never seen that before in the show. It could be that. What happens if it's Alex gets a sex scene? With who? I don't know. The ship? Oh, we'll have to find out next time. We have to find out next time on The Expanse. Who will get to come?
Lucy's husband just kind of
Hangs out with the orphan?
semi-adopting the orphan.
Well, you have to. Because who else is going to interact
He's a
with?
father.
Amos said he was going to come back and protect that kid, and we've never seen him interact with the kid again, really. Outside of them getting the
shots.
injections.
Yes,
the shots.
yes.
After that, Amos is like, I can see you again. Goodbye. Bye-bye, little orphan Annie. But you can find us on the social medias under yumyumpod or yumyumpodcast. You can email us at yumyumpod@gmail.com. Make sure not to spoil anything for us, or else we'll be very upset at you. Rachel knows how many episodes Bern Gorman was in because she spoiled herself. Was this the last episode? Will he be in season 5? Will he be in the last episode of the series? And he turns up and says, hello, it's me, Bern Gorman.
I don't know. I don't remember how many episodes it was now. I just remember what year.
The year
The year.
is 2256. The name of the place is Babylon 5. That's if you're watching it from The Gathering, I'm pretty sure. But that is it. Thank you all so much for listening and supporting the podcast and giving us your time and enjoying whatever we've had to say, or ripping your hair out, throwing your device across the room, saying, how dare you say such things about my beloved Barb plot. I love the Barb plot. Would the Barb plot really have been better? Honestly, this isn't me joking around. If it was Havelock, because the guy that helped send them the message was, in my understanding, supposed to be Havelock. Do you think that actually would have been something that made his character Havelock in season 1 more poignant or register more? Do you think it would still be kind of a dorky?
I think it would be, because we know Havelock to be a dork.
We know him to be a guy who follows the rules thinking that they work out, but then slowly realizing they don't. Is it weird, though, that he went from one corporate, shitty, corrupt job to another? That guy just can't fucking figure things out. He's dumb as a bag of rocks. Now, book readers, does Havelock get an ending? Or is it just he has this little adventure, and like many other side characters in The Expanse, just disappears into the ether?
Yeah, well, we know that he gets a chapter or two in the books, right? We've mentioned that.
What happened to his, sex worker girlfriend? Is she there? Does she have a new wig that Star Trek Discovery gave her? Let us know.
See you then. Well, voila.